Carl, welcome to this week's edition of In the Dugout. We'll start off by talking about the season launch night, which takes place on Wednesday the 18th of October. Plenty of things been announced for it already. Are you looking forward to it?
I am, yeah. There's plenty of people showing interest already in coming. Obviously, you've got to book your ticket through the ticket office. That's just so we get a feel of how many's going to be there, and hopefully, come to a meeting with some good news, which is normally we call meetings here at Donny. There's a problem, but I'll save that for the night. What I'll let them know there. But really looking forward to it. It's I'm sure the supporters who do come will go away real happy, and especially with the news that we're going to give them regards season tickets and some signings and some re-signings and what the plan is for next year.
And how important is it that we communicate with those fans earlier and to get them on board for next year and let them know what our plans are, both on and off the field?
Well, we keep saying it, don't we, that we've all got to do it together, not just the administrators of the club and the players. It's the supporters play a big part. So we've listened to them. We've got that fans panel, which I feel is really starting to take some shape and become really useful for us. And we're listening to what they're saying, and we'll have a crack at doing what they want. And that's one thing about the club. We do listen to the fans. We've got a real hardcore there that care about the club and have got the club's best interests at heart. And like any other club, we've got the others who want to get stuck into us. But if we can go make them all go away from the meeting, in a positive mood and happy of what we're doing, and it'll all be worthwhile.
And you mentioned that tickets do need to be bought in advance, and they are free as well. People can get them from either the Club Doncaster box office or online as well. The fact that the tickets are free, it should be enough of an incentive to get a decent crowd down there.
Yeah, and we're getting the little jabs here and there about why do you need a ticket if it's a free event and all this sort of stuff. It's on the numbers. We just want to purely get the numbers, and obviously the other stuff. If we know who's coming and then we get their information, we can send information out to them as and when. And so it's something that we're doing, and the way we're doing it is, I don't know why everyone just likes to have a gripe about it's a ticket. Why is it a ticket? Just turn up and you'll see it'll be a positive event.
We've already announced that there's going to be new signings and players re-signing at the launch night next week. How happy are you with the business we've done so far? Without naming any names, how pleased are you with what you've got done?
Oh, I think everyone will be, quietly happy. It's, even myself, I'm seeing all other clubs naming players and we've not said anything, and everyone's thinking, are we going to have a team or what we're doing? But we're trying to do things a little bit different this year. We've certainly got a good number already in the bag, and even my own mates are ringing me up, and it's hard to not say anything. But I think this time is one of the only times that I don't think you fellas ever know a few of the boys we've got. So it's hard, but we're trying to keep it close to our chest and then let it all out on the 18th. So it's if you want to know firsthand, then turn up to the event.
And we've had a car park rebrand as well here at the Club Doncaster Sports Village. One in particular, Car Park 3, has been named after a Don's legend in St John Ellis. Just tell us a little bit about him and how much he did for the club.
Singed wasn't so much of a player here, but he was a coach for many years. He was a character. That again was voted for by the fans. I think I give my 3 on here, who I thought. So if people think that I picked it, don't come and throw stones at me like you do. But Singed is a worthy winner, and the fans voted for him. He was a good coach. We had an unbeaten league record at home. He coached myself, so he was a great fella. He said it how it was, and you boys would have had a lot of fun with him. As he was certainly sitting here in front of the camera, because he was a bit more brutal than I was when he came to facing a little bit of adversity. He didn't hold back, and great bloke. So more than happy for to keep his name going in that car park, and everyone who voted for him, I hope you're happy, and I hope the rest of the club are happy, because he was certainly a good man.
And it's another sign of that fan engagement, isn't it? Giving the fans the opportunity to vote for who they want. It's another indication that we're listening to what the fans want.
Yeah, we do. And it's probably one thing we do, and we make ourselves accessible to them. And some say, is that a good thing, a bad thing? But why not? I am who I am, and they all know they can. Well, they do. They text me or they ring me and vent their anger at me. And listen, a lot of the time I agree with them, but we have to do what we've got to do. And at the end of the day, the club's the most important thing. And I think it's not just our club. If you see around the social media and the newspapers at the moment, all the big talk about the game and the RFL and the Super League, and the clubs are doing this and restructuring. Well, it's happening everywhere. So it may need to happen, but I think Brian McDermott said the word, didn't he? We need to hold our nerve. The people are only just getting used to the structure we've been playing the last 3 years, and we're looking at changing it again. But if it's needed, at the end of the day, I think that we need to find the right solution, and probably not just focus so much on the Super League, the Championship and the League ones, but maybe have a closer look at the community clubs and see what we can do with them to get the pathways up correctly. Is the structure from the community clubs leading into the professional clubs the right way at the moment? Is that needs looking at. We can all look at the clubs who's getting paid money, but the whole solution of the game is the 5-year-olds and the 6-year-olds building up. They're the future of the game. So I think we need to maybe put a little bit more emphasis on looking at how we develop those groups instead of trying to spread ourselves too far. But that's my opinion, and we've all seen that everyone's got loads to say at the moment about the England team and and all this sort of stuff, the game, and we just need to find the right solution, because at the end of the day, the game should be the winner.
You mentioned Brian McDermott there. The Super League Grand Final, of course, last week saw your former club Leeds become champions, I think, for an 8th time, while the Super
Amazing.
League era has been on. What did you make to that game? And it was a little bit more one-sided than a lot of people were expecting. Well,
it was, I don't know the word, the masters against the tacticians, I suppose. That Cass have been unbelievable all year, but it's like anything. When you play international or you go to the final, you have to go up another level, and they say that you need to lose one to win one. Well, Cass will never play against a better team to show them how it's done, and Leeds were just Leeds grand final rugby, and you could see that they knew what they were doing, and Castleford tried, don't get me wrong, it's a big stage and it's a different level, and that nervous energy can zap your legs in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and Leeds are the masters when it comes to the playoffs. Back in the day you could never write off Saints or Wigan, but when you're looking at finals now, you're very, very foolish to write Leeds off, because they're proven in the big games, and Cass will come back stronger from that, I'm sure. They're a great group of players there and all get on well, and they're well coached, so let's see next year if they can have a bigger season. But you've got to feel a little bit for them. Winning the league by 10 points and going away empty-handed, is a tough one.
Do you think that's a sign then that you can maybe be the best team all season, but it's all about who turns up in those big games? You don't necessarily need to be the most consistent team, as long as you've got what it takes in those big games, that bit of sort of fighting spirit and willingness to dig in for each other. As long as you've got that, you've got half a chance wherever you finish, as long as you're in that top 4.
Well, and injuries, if your squad's fit, and so there's pros and cons with the playoff system, but we all like the old day of first past the post. You're being the best team consistently for the whole year, then you deserve being the champions. you can come from fifth, as Leeds have shown before, and become champions. So it all depends how you're travelling at the time, your injuries, and how many finals you played. And you fancy Leeds, if they get there, they're always going to be a chance. So it's a debate, and some like it, some don't, but it's the rules. So well done to Leeds.
The Rugby League World Cup gets underway 2 weeks today, I think I'm right in saying, 27th of October. Who are we tipping for that? We've seen a lot of, obviously the likes of New Zealand, Australia are going to be the favourites, but Tonga have got a really strong squad this year, haven't they? They're going to be a real threat, especially towards an England team who, there's been a lot of talk about the selection.
Yeah, and they have got a great side, Tonga, which is good because, if they can perform as a group, it's all right having a good team on paper, and you know not always forced to go out and win games. You still got to win the game. So if they can put it together and play, hopefully they'll challenge the big three, and then all of a sudden the whole game has changed again. So you not only got your New Zealand, Australia and England, you'll have Samoa and Tonga, and soon maybe USA will be up there if they keep developing over there, and it's good for the game. New Zealand, everyone's saying they picked a under-strength team and all that, but nobody knows these young fellas they're putting in, and they could be a force. So trying to go under the radar, but once you pull on the black jersey, and then it's you just grow another leg. So I'm predicting they'll do all right, the Kiwis. So we'll see about the England team. Everyone's got their own opinions on there of who should have won and who should have not went, but we seem to be talking more about that than actually knowing when the games are on the tellies or when the games are played. For me, it's the promotion of it over here has been awful. If I asked you to now, who's the first game again? Who's playing in the first game and when is it? I don't think you'd even know.
We've got Australia.
Yeah, when? Exactly. So I think the coverage, it'll be mad over that end, and whether it's just because we're here and we're not privy to everything they'll be promoting in Aussie and New Zealand, I don't know, but I think the promotion of it over here has been awful. I've even just been having a few little jokes about it, and people sending me all the fixtures. So I asked, are those games all on tally? Or I'll come back to you. They have no idea. So, but you can't look past Australia, I suppose. They'll always be the favourites. And then, for me personally, I hope Fiji do well, and obviously the Kiwis.
You mentioned about the lack of build-up to it. Should it really matter where the World Cup's being hosted, whether it gets coverage over here or not? You look at the football World Cups, whether that's in Brazil, Russia next year, that's going to get coverage from probably the turn of the year onwards, and everybody's going to be pumped for that straight away. So you would have thought something the RFL could have surely done to try and get all fans ready for this, and everyone, and all everyone seems to be talking about is next season already, rather than focusing on the World Cup.
Well, I've seen a lot more about the 2021 World Cup than I have this one. So, and we're hosting that here. So maybe it's a ploy. I don't know, because the last World Cup here was a real big success, and we went to town on it. And obviously we're going to have to do better than the one in Aussie and New Zealand and that now. So maybe we're saving all our eggs to show them how it's done when it's over here.
Yeah, because another sport that gets a lot of coverage is rugby union for the Six Nations as well. That's coverage on the BBC or ITV, and you get all the build-up for that. Rugby league, it's on the BBC in a couple of weeks. Not really seeing anything yet as to do with that, so another sign.
Well, I'm led to believe that all the England games are on the BBC. So whether the BBC have got something up their sleeves and they're going to hammer it the last couple of weeks, 10 days before the tournament, is yet to be seen. We need to give them a chance, I suppose, but just from the stuff the general public looks at, there's been nothing.